It's an auspicious day.
For sure. For sure.
We are recording slightly later than normal, and that means we hit the news cycle at just the right time, which we'll talk about later.
Honestly, it paid off.
Yeah.
We're mourning.
Yeah. Well, speaking of paying off, paying things off. Student debt. That's the thing people have to pay off.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the thing people talk about a lot. It's the thing both of us got to pay off.
That's the thing I started paying off this month because my 6-month forbearance after I graduated was over. And
yeah. And regardless of your position on student loans, maybe you think lazy liberals should pay them back. Maybe you think it should all be canceled, whatever.
That's what I think.
You can't help but have some empathy for the people that have student loans, you know? And I have a series of tweets here that I saw this like right after we recorded the pod last week, or maybe on Monday or something.
Okay.
And I just thought it was an excellent exchange on Twitter, on my favorite website. So I'm going to read this. This first guy says, "My wife and I left graduate school 23 years ago with a combined total debt of $70,000. Since then, we've made $500 monthly payments for 23 years, so $120,000 plus. Today, we still owe $60,000. Explain to me again why student loan debt should not be canceled." Obviously, he's making the argument, right? So then somebody follows up, a different person. They say, so with 2 graduate degrees, the two of you would have pulled in a lot of money, but decided to only contribute $250 per person per month payment towards your student loan debt. So, dismissive.
First point, graduate degrees do not guarantee that you're making a lot of money.
And then the original poster says, "We are both teachers."
Oh, fuck.
And then,
so they're making no money.
They're making no money. And then the Libertarian Party of Connecticut, the official account from the Libertarian Party of Connecticut says, that explains everything.
Nobody should be a teacher.
The open contempt for public educators is crazy.
It's because you don't get it, because you don't think about economics as much as I do. You see, if people decided, like if they all banded together and said, okay, I know nobody's going to be a teacher, I'm not going into this profession, and I'm going to get everyone else to not go and become a teacher, and we're just going to have a massive shortage of teachers for a couple of years, then wages would have to rise up because it's a market.
It's so like the Libertarian
market.
The Libertarian Party is just wholly irrelevant in American politics. They don't win anything. They're just really annoying. But for them to just be posters, like the official Libertarian Party of a state in this country responds to an individual that's like, hey, student debt's kind of fucked. I'm a public educator and I can't pay this shit back. And they're like, oh, well, it's because you're a teacher. Have you considered not being a teacher? Have you considered being a sales tech?
Yeah. Have you considered STEM? What about a STEM education, huh? Have you considered STEM? Right-wingers love positioning themselves against teachers.
Yeah.
One of the most important jobs in the entire country, in the entire society.
Even if this dude initially was just like, hey, this is hard to pay back, even if he wasn't making an argument for total cancellation, for them to come in and say, like, well, you should get a better job. Yeah. When he's a teacher, like teaching the kids of this country, it's crazy.
K through 12, too. It's not even like they went on to get a PhD, that kind of graduate degree, and became professors in some liberal science, you know what I mean? Some liberal mojo. They're K through 12 teachers. Primary, responsible for educating your youth.
You could have taken issue with so many different things in the initial post, but instead you're like, oh, teachers, that explains it.
Yeah,
it's a waste of time job.
No wonder you're fucking stupid, actually.
Absolutely worthless. Doesn't help anybody succeed. Does nothing for the... Oh, my God. I just thought it was perfect. Libertarians are not doing well. If you have a libertarian friend, check in on them. I don't think they're doing too well nowadays.
That's insane. That's absolutely bonkers. So I was scrolling through r/conservative, as I usually do. If you're longtime listeners know. You know what I'm saying? Sorting by top weekly.
Naturally.
And I feel like I found a little bit of a gem. This one, it's not a news article like they usually are. It's not even an opinion column. Although they did kind of write an essay when they didn't.
Someone's just yapping.
Someone is just yapping. They made a post. They saw something in their lives that they were so angry about that they had to make a post on the intellectual conservative bastion that is r/conservative. And it was titled, in air quotes, "Modern History Books." For Christmas, my kids got me the Encyclopedia of American History by the Smithsonian. I decided to start reading today, and while going through the section on the 1500s through the 1600s/early colonization, wasn't obvious right away, but then I came to a paragraph discussing the colonists and their racist attitudes. Those are in quotes, obviously. I thought, using the term, quote, racist to describe people from the 1500s seems wrong. So I decided to check the published date of the book, and to nobody's surprise, the book is marked as Full Revised 2023 edition. I kept reading in amusement, and the cringe got worse. The section on Thanksgiving and the, quote, whites interpretation. My favorite is the attached caption from the picture of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, Who were the 56 signatories and what drove them to declare independence? Doesn't matter. To make sure I wasn't overthrowing this, I skipped to the current Times page on Trump was, and you'd expect, this dude's an incoherent writer. They even felt the need to include the peaceful BLM protests. Long story short, he didn't like the content. But what exactly about signing the Declaration of Independence? What little snippet did he not like? This part that says, quote, the signing of the Declaration of Independence. All 56 signatories were white landowning men, and most were enslavers.
Factual statement.
A factual statement, dog.
God
and
damn it.
There was an absolute battle in the comments about the definition. Who were enslavers? A bunch of people getting in there like, oh, you want to talk about enslavers? What about the African tribes, huh? What about the African tribes that were enslaved? We only bought them. We only bought him and kept him in slavery. What about the people that were doing it?
Oh my God! We're talking about American government, the American Declaration of Independence. What about the African tribes?
And it's also like, do we really want to get in here and pretend that the fact that all of the 56 signatories of the Declaration of Independence were white landowning men, as if it wasn't written into the Constitution that only white landowning men could be able to vote? That is kind of a foundational piece of American history that contextualizes, I don't know, pretty much everything that's been going on up until now.
Man, that's just like Nikki Haley's media tour where she can't say America has had a racist past.
She said America has never been a racist country.
We've never been a racist country. She says, how could we have written it into the Declaration of Independence that we're all made equally, or whatever the fuck she said, if they didn't actually believe it? Bro, people can just say shit. Like you are right now.
And it's also like when they said we're all made equal, they said except. There's a little asterisk there, a pretty big asterisk.
Yeah.
Said, except if you're a woman, minority, black,
we did not
landowning, not rich, not a man.
By we, they meant propertied white men.
Yeah, by we, they meant the people in this room.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so fucking good. I love it. It's like you really have to be delusional to believe that there's been no racism in the history of America.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Like, at the very least, you look at the institution of slavery and Jim Crow laws, those being, like, super unnuanced view of what racism has been and what it is today. You have to at least admit that that was pretty bad.
And it's also like this poster in their issue with this little portion of an Encyclopedia of American History said, oh, so the book doesn't care who they were and what the people who wrote the Declaration of Independence stood for. It's like, I'm sure it does in other sections. This is just a very tiny snippet that said, a caveat here, they were all white landowning men, which would go on to be a very important part of early American policy, the earliest American policy.
Just deluding yourselves. Education level in this country sucks ass. My God.
Oh my goodness. Who's triggered now?
Yeah, who's the snowflake now? I thought it was facts over feelings. Welcome back to Head in the Office, everybody. We've got an absolutely loaded show for you today.
Yes, sir.
Big election news on this podcast that we're talking about, and some election news that we simply won't beat the news cycle for, but we'll get into that. We also have a couple of other big news stories to talk about, some Beyond Parody at the end.
I'm reluctant to say that maybe I'm just going to throw out a wild dickie.
Okay.
Prediction, if you haven't been listening to the latest couple episodes, I'm not too sure that there's going to be much newsworthy things going on in the next that is to say, there is newsworthy things going on, but I don't think there are going to be newsworthy things that are going to surpass our expectations.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Well, we can talk about expectations and dickies very soon on this podcast, but lots of election news coming your way. But before we get into the show, I will not even ask. I'll beg. I'll plead. I'll pray. I'll do anything.
Just like I get on my knees and pray to Dan Campbell every night.
If you go, yeah, exactly. Please, I'm begging you to go to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. It's the best way you can support the show. You can listen to it early and ad free. What else could you want other than lines the Super Bowl?
What's more fun than that?
Exactly.
Except like Jeremy's headlines at the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Come on,
exactly. I hope that doesn't turn into a really bad thing to say in the next hour.
Yeah, in the next 30 minutes. I don't know.
Anyway, you can also support the show by getting some Head in the Office merch. Lots available for you. I mean, it'll be summer before you know it. Might as well get a t-shirt to rock.
And if you're a patron, obviously you get acknowledged every single episode at the end of the episode, depending on if you give up enough. If you give enough tithe, the more tithe you give, the more holy you are. But I digress. If you want a one-time shout out, maybe a spiel that you want us to read, go go ahead and leave a 5-star review on Apple.
Any set of words you can think of, combine the
Well,
26...
maybe not any set of words.
Most sets of words.
Most words that you can think of, we will read. Just there's a list. There's a list of words that we won't say. There's a list. But I'm sure you can guess what those are.
Take any of the 26 letters from English, make them into words, and we'll maybe read them on the show.
We'll say most of them.
I don't think we've skipped one yet. So
we have not. We have not skipped one word.
Getting into these 5-star reviews, the first one is big ups to the best geopolitical/domestic podcast out there by Taco Libre 06. They say Hito covers major ground on the happenings on, and don't shy from calling out absurdity no matter who it is. I'm horrified by this upcoming election year, but at least I'll have a few good laughs. Thanks, fellas.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Taco Libre.
Thank you
Love
for
you so much.
for laughing.
Yeah,
for being joyous in our presence.
This next one, finally, by Notes Raider. They say, I've been listening to you guys for almost a year now, and I can't express how much I've learned from these two. Growing up on the Louisiana-Mississippi border, aka pro-Trump county, pro-Trump country, all you hear about is Trump this, homophobia that, but it's nice to hear two handsome young men close to my age share the same political views as me. P.S. I condemn Hamas.
So I hope it's a pro-Trump country, brother. I hope it's a pro-Trump.
Hey, but at least you condemn Hamas.
I'm about to drive home from work. There was this house that had up like really... I moved to my apartment in November, right? So just for context, it was as much as I knew of it, my entire world, this house had been decorated with very cool Christmas decorations. Yeah. Just cool lights and shit. And then all of a sudden, like, it's January.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? People are taking them down. All of a sudden, I'm driving home from work. I go to look at the house. Trump 2024 flag.
Trump 2024,
all the cool
baby.
lights are stripped out. It's just Trump 2024.
Well, I mean, he is the presumptive nominee. We gonna put up a DeSantis flag. Can't now.
Yeah, they're not wrong. But whoa, spoiler.
God
damn. This last review from Scoot Zeeb on Instagram. Best geopolitical podcast ever. That's what I've been saying. I absolutely love this podcast. It's the only podcast I can and ever have listened to and actually digest and understand. And out of loyalty to these two fine white men, I shall never seek out another. I love Jeremy and Gage more than my own mother. They bring me all the latest news in a way that isn't depressing and soul-sucking, nor full of lies and utter bullshit. I've been binging the show on Spotify ever since the TikTok algorithm graced my ears and eyes with the Hito Boys clip, The Gay Nutcracker and Black Disabled Santa. That's a Hito classic.
That's a Hito classic, yeah.
That did the highest numbers out of anything we've ever done before.
A milli.
Oh my, a milli. On multiple platforms.
Yeah.
Golly, guys, we made it big. 2024, I'm switching up. Anyway, I digress. Really sold the pod to me. I sadly cannot afford to become a Sunday superstar right now. That's okay. But trust... As soon as I have some extra bucks, I will upgrade from a Wednesday weenie. 100% worth the investment. But for now, I leave a 5-star review to support my guys. Keep it up, boys. Love y'all. Heart. I condemn Hamas.
You got the condemnation in there.
You know, condemnation at the 11th hour.
Yeah, no,
but it's still a condemnation. You know what I mean?
It works out.
I'm so glad that we're all up with this.
Thank you all for the reviews. If you want your review read, you know where to go. Apple Podcast. Leave a 5-star review. We'll read it on the show as soon as we get it. But until then, it's time to talk about some election coverage.
Yeah.
We got some big news to talk about. Top of the episode, you know, we write the show notes ahead of time. But just a couple of hours ago from the time of recording this, good thing we delayed it, we got some breaking news that Ron DeSantis has officially dropped out of the presidential race. He's no longer running for president, and he dropped out and endorsed Trump.
Go ahead and Rhonda packed up.
Rhonda loser.
Rhonda loser.
Said months and months ago.
Rhonda packed up. Rhonda dropout.
Mid DeSantis.
Mid DeSantis.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. We've been saying it from the beginning. He's not going to win. As we talk about in a moment, he didn't win in Iowa, and he drops out just ahead of this New Hampshire primary. That's what's happened in a few days.
Ron DeSantis spent so much of his mismanaged campaign funds. He threw all that money away just to drop out
$100 million.
Just to drop out the first time things go wrong. But it's not like they just went wrong. They went wholly wrong. He spent all of that money and so much time, I think, almost strictly campaigning in Iowa. He visited 99 counties
and didn't win a single one.
That's rough. I got 99 counties. Not a win in one.
Not a win in one.
God.
And look, the thesis that we put forward when Ron DeSantis first announced that he was going to run, we said a Florida man can't win the presidency. It can't happen. The people that come out of Florida are simply too weird to win the presidency. And it stands true today. And before you say Donald Trump, he's from New York.
That's right. He moved to Florida. He's a New York expat. And that's why he's there, because people from New York are kind of cool.
But Ron DeSantis, born and raised Florida man, he simply could not pull it off. We said he couldn't pull it off. And now look at him dropping out a few days before the New Hampshire primary. And my wonder is, like, after Iowa, he said we got our ticket punched. He basically gave a victory speech after losing by 30%.
Insane.
And then he drops out 6 days later?
Just to endorse the guy that he's kind of been attacking for the last 6 months? Come on, man. See, what I want to see, I want to see some hard data. What I want numbers on is, how many of these primary voters in Iowa heard about the boots? How many of these voters in Iowa heard about the boots?
That's
and
the important political scientific information.
Maybe he's got some heels on those, and they just couldn't get past it.
I want to know what got him to drop out. Like, was it? Did his wife finally whisper in his ear, like, "It's time to pack it up, Ron"?
Casey,
like, yeah. She was like, "Ronald, we gotta stop. Like, this is."
Ronald, you have kids to raise.
She was like, "Iowa was already asking a lot for me to be there, and now you want me to go to New Hampshire? It's not gonna happen." So maybe that's what it was. Some people have speculated that Trump made him an offer, like, "I'll give you a cabinet spot if you drop out now."
There's no way. Even if Trump made that offer, he's not sticking by it. Like, there's no way. I'll eat my words if DeSantis somehow gets a position in the Trump presidency should he win.
Yeah, no, that would be crazy. Because I've seen people coping like DeSantis heads.
Yeah,
because that's a group of people that exist. I've seen some of them, or I saw some of them on Twitter coping like, rumor is that DeSantis got offered vice president. No, he didn't.
No,
no fucking chance.
I'm reluctant to say that another person who dropped out of the race is going to be vice president.
Yeah,
I am.
Yeah, there's no chance Ron DeSantis gets vice president, especially because I think Trump and his campaign is smart enough, at the very least, to know that Ron DeSantis does not appeal to anybody that Trump can't appeal to himself. Who they need to get is like the more moderates, women living in the suburbs, that kind of thing that Biden picked up last election. They're not getting any of them with Ron DeSantis.
No, exactly. If anything, they get him with Nikki Haley.
Yeah, maybe.
We're looking at some demographic information.
Or Kari Lake.
Oh,
Kari Lake. That's
the certified Hitto pick.
I'm standing
certified Hitto pick.
So moving on, last week we got the first set of election results for the 2024 U.S. presidential election, which is pretty nutty to me. We're talking about Iowa, so I think we can run through some of these results.
Yes, sir.
And then we will go through some details that we noticed and talk about maybe a path to victory for our candidate, Nikki Haley. Maybe. I'm back in Nikki Haley. Vivek's out. DeSantis is out.
That's right. Who else?
I'm back in Nikki Haley. So let's run through these results. So Trump got first place, obviously, with 51% of the vote, 51,000 votes, and about 20 delegates to the convention. Ron DeSantis came in second place with 21.2% of the vote, 23,000 votes, and 9 delegates to the convention. Nikki Haley got 19.1% of the vote, 21,000 votes, and 8 delegates. Vivek Ramaswamy got a measly 7.7% of the vote. That's only 8,500 votes, and 3 delegates. Other candidates are not even worth talking about.
That's seven for Vivek. That's about what we predicted, yeah?
It is, yeah.
Trump
got Vivek
was outside of our range, just by like 1, right?
Yeah, well, we put Trump a little bit higher, and we put Nikki and Ron a little bit lower. But I think based off polling data, that was a good prediction to make. And also, there's a couple of confounding variables. For example, the weather apparently was really bad in Iowa, like the same night of the Iowa caucus.
Yeah.
So maybe that encouraged some Trump voters to not go out. There's also a lot of polling that has been out that suggests like 80% of the Republican base, or maybe it's 80% of Trump voters. Maybe the same thing. Might not be a difference.
Very true, very true.
A large chunk of Republicans think that Trump's going to win anyway.
Yeah.
And when you have a primary, the effect of that kind of mindset is usually, I won't even bother voting because he's going to be the nominee anyway. I'll just vote for him in the general.
Well, like, especially if there's a fucking ice storm going on outside, like one of the worst storms they've had all year, I wouldn't fucking go vote. I wouldn't do it.
So lacking that ice storm and lacking what is just people assuming Trump's going to win, I think our prediction comes true. Just saying.
For sure. If I'm just like a conservative in general, I'm thinking, Trump's got it in the bag. I'm not going to vote, and I'm going to tell my friends and family to not vote either. Cause
even in the general election, like he's going to win.
In the general election, like he's got it in the bag. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Any immediate details that you noticed from these results? Anything that jumps out at you? Anything surprising?
I thought maybe Nikki might have clutched it out.
Oh, really?
I thought
over
maybe
Ron?
She could have clutched it out over Ron, and they're closer than I feel like I thought they would be. A
lot closer, yeah.
And they have obviously more votes than I thought they would have got.
It's especially surprising because you got to remember Ron DeSantis dumped millions of dollars into Iowa.
Exactly.
Nikki Haley paid for ads too, but she spent much more time in New Hampshire, which seems like at least if for the race for second is going to pay off for her. Seems like she won that race for second. You know what I mean? But yeah, for Ron DeSantis to win in Iowa by only a couple percentage points, only about 2 percentage points, is pretty embarrassing. And I think that's got to be one of the things that motivated his dropping out so quickly after that.
Well, it's my favorite part about the whole thing is Ron DeSantis toured all 99 counties, dumped so much money into Iowa to not win a single county.
Yes.
But you know who did win one single county?
Nikki Haley.
Nikki Haley.
Johnson County by 1 vote, baby.
Oh my God.
Fucking Marxists.
Trump did not sweep Iowa. He did not. 98 counties. 98 counties, but he didn't get that last one, and it was by 1 vote.
Yeah, so the weather suppressed turnout, as I said, voters might be taking for granted that Trump could win, but the final possible explanation is maybe Trump isn't as strong as we thought. maybe there's some breakage in the Republican Party.
All I'm saying is there's a crack.
Yeah,
there's a crack. Things are starting.
1 county.
Things are starting to fall apart. There's a crack in the foundation. You know, in a little bit, this house might come crumbling down.
It's like when you get a crack in your windshield and it grows.
Exactly.
It grows. That crack in the windshield is that 1 county Nikki Haley won.
a little fucking pebble hits your windshield. You think, I'm chilling.
All
I'm
it takes
fine.
is a spark.
I'm going to keep cruising down, and I'm going to ignore this crack. I'm not even going to acknowledge it. Maybe I'll talk a little shit on it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, your windshield's gone, and you're in the ditch.
Yeah, I should also say Asa Hutchinson dropped out formally, and he endorsed Nikki Haley.
He waited this long to drop out.
He threw his 0.1% behind Nikki Haley.
That's literally what did it in 1 county.
So that's the Iowa caucus. Trump claimed the W, of course, as he should, because he won by about 30 points over Ron DeSantis. As I said, DeSantis still claimed the victory, sort of. Like he said, we got our ticket punched. He didn't say like I won overall, but he was, holding a rally to say, like, he said something along the lines of, like, the press has been writing our obituary since spring or something like that. And it's like, I guess they were right.
Yeah, I mean, shit, I was doing that.
The lamestream media got you this time, Ron. I don't know what to say. And I'm just confused, like, how maybe this always happens, and I'm just paying attention now more than ever, but I'm confused how he goes out on Monday night or, Tuesday morning, whenever the polls were finally out and he could do this. He announced what was sort of a victory speech at after the Iowa caucuses.
He seems geeked to lose.
And then 6 days later, on Sunday, middle of the day, he's just like, yeah, I'm out. Like, what happened in these 6 days, Ron? I need to know what happened.
He didn't even wait for New Hampshire. Like, dog, you're right there.
Yeah.
It's in 2 days.
Yeah. I mean, the polling, we'll get into New Hampshire in a second, but maybe the polling was telling him you're about to face an embarrassing defeat in New Hampshire, drop out beforehand, so now when you get 5% of the vote, it doesn't look as bad on you.
I don't know what's more embarrassing than what happened in Iowa.
Yeah.
With how much money he wasted in that. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I don't
Voters'
know what's
money.
more exactly.
This donation money. Yeah. Yeah. Astonishingly, though, before Ron DeSantis dropped out, that's important to remember here.
Yep.
Before Ron DeSantis dropped out, Nikki Haley claimed that the primary was a 2-person race. You need to remember, this happened at a time after Monday of last week. This happened when Ron DeSantis came in second place above her by 2%. Nikki Haley comes out, before Ron DeSantis said he was out of the race, Nikki Haley comes out and says this is officially a 2-person race.
Nikki Haley, the third person.
Yeah.
The third person said this is a 2-person. Nikki Haley, the person who couldn't win the race to second.
And look, I hate to say this, but she's right. Now she is, right?
I don't know what kind of dirt she pulled up on Ron.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there, but he didn't have to give this to her.
Yeah. And this led, of course, right after this to her announcing that she wouldn't debate Ron DeSantis, which led to us canceling the live stream that we were supposed to be doing tonight.
It would have been good.
But we weren't able to do it regardless, even if we wanted to, because CNN said no.
You could have heard so much about who wants to invade Mexico harder.
Yeah.
Who hates fentanyl the most.
It's kind of the end of an era, really. I mean, we started strong in August with that first debate live stream.
Man,
did several more since that.
I can't believe it's been 6 months. I can't believe it's 6 months that they were going. I can't believe they did more than 3.
I'm going to say that the point of no return for Ron DeSantis wasn't. A lot of people will say it was his announcement on X. That was that was the beginning of the end for him.
And I can see where you're coming from.
I'd accept the argument, but I think the beginning of the end was the Gavin Newsom debate. Because what are you thinking, man? Complete waste of time.
Just no reason to do it.
Like, look,
Hannity is throwing him layups.
I hate Nikki Haley for what she did, saying she wouldn't debate Ron DeSantis.
Yeah.
Because maybe that played into his idea, like, I'm not even going to do this anymore.
That's fucking up my content, too.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I hate her for doing that and taking content. But you got it. I mean, smart move by her.
Exactly.
She recognized in New Hampshire, he's not really a threat. No reason to debate him. We've always said Trump is smart for not debating them. It would just platform them and make them look legitimate next to him.
And at least at least he was in the race.
Yeah.
Gavin
exactly.
Newsom? Gavin Newsom?
Gavin Newsom not in the race. We also have to announce, very sadly, Q Marvin's room, that Vivek Ramaswamy has dropped out of the presidential election. This was, you got to respect him for announcing this like the same night that the results came out in Iowa.
He lost gracefully.
Yeah.
And there is respect to be thrown at that. That it takes a lot. It takes a lot of heart.
I think I saw around midnight after the results came out from Iowa that Vivek had dropped out. So you got to respect him knowing right away, like, yep, it's not going to happen. So I give him that one at least. But I do have a fun little news tidbit. Not really fun, kind of awful, really. But after Vivek Ramaswamy dropped out of the presidential race, the Babylon Bee, which it feels too charitable to say they're the conservative answer to the Onion, but I don't know what other way to put it.
The Onion, well, to preface it, the Onion is funny, and Babylon Bee is incredibly unfunny. So in a way, they are the conservative answer to the Babylon Bee.
Fair enough. Well, the Babylon Bee dropped this crazy headline about Vivek. They said, quote, Trump promises Vivek an administration position running the White House 7-Eleven, and it's an edited picture of Vivek into a 7-Eleven t-shirt.
Fucking insane.
Just racism? It's just racism.
And it's the most bottom of the barrel racism too. You don't know enough about any. The only thing you know about, not even know. I don't even want to say no. But the only thing you think you know about India is like 7-Eleven, haha.
Yeah, he's like,
Indian store,
Indian guy.
Oh, I saw this on The Simpsons one time.
Yeah. It's like, what are you talking about, dog? This is crazy. It's just straight up racism. And a bunch of conservatives were laughing at it, obviously. There were some conservatives, I'll say, that were like, hey, this isn't cool in the comments.
But
the big ones like Matt Walsh were like, no, this is funny. This is good content.
Because he has the humor of a 7th grader.
And it just comes across as like, we know Trump is racist. We know we're racist and get owned because this is funny.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it comes across.
And it's anyone who doesn't think this is funny is clearly a liberal.
Yeah.
And so they're not in our circle anyway.
And Vivek responded, and he's like, he's laughing it off like, oh, I'm a survivor, and saying like, oh, I survived an attack from the media or whatever.
Or he said some shit, thank you for coming to visit.
Yeah, some shit like that.
Brother.
You're a victim. Like,
brother.
This is how they see you. This is how they've always seen you. That's not a good thing.
Bro firmly planted himself in the cuck chair.
Yeah.
He firmly planted himself in the cuck chair. He is sitting in that corner and watching.
The article itself isn't much better either. It's just like a couple of paragraphs.
Yeah, I mean, you can hardly call Babylon Bee articles.
Yeah.
They're really just, honestly, racist headlines.
Yep.
Or the most bottom of the barrel socialist headline. And
This one was just astonishing because it's like, I feel like they had this one loaded up for a while and we're just holding on to it. We're just holding on to it until they could use it when they knew Vivek was going to drop out. Because that's premeditated racism.
100%.
Right,
I'm sure they dropped it like 2 minutes after, too. They saw the announcement. They had the tweet drafted.
Yeah. It's bad, dog. Like if you're listening right now and you haven't seen the edit, go look it up because it's Vivek in a 7-Eleven shirt.
It's not even like that good either. It's not even a great edit.
Yeah, it's just some casual racism for you.
But I mean, what more do we expect from them? And what more do we expect from the people who are willing to go up there and just completely tokenize themselves for the most marginal power? Because what? People are saying Vivek VP because he showed up, he endorsed Trump. Trump and him were talking. Trump is like, big things for Vivek going forward. And everyone's like, oh, Vivek VP, yeah, woohoo. And then, the base Babylon Bee enjoyers are laughing at the 7-Eleven meme.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much in this guy's future except I don't know, Pete Buttigieg's gig.
Yeah, no, he's Pete Buttigieg. He is Pete Buttigieg. Like, he is not going to get the VP position. Don't let anybody tell you or anybody make you think that Vivek is going to get the VP spot. He could get some cabinet position, Secretary of Commerce or something like that. Or I put him as Secretary of Labor in my dream cabinet for Trump. Because that would be hilarious.
That's true. I think realistically, if Betsy DeVos, if he didn't want to go with Betsy again, I feel like he could put Vivek in education.
He did talk about just abolishing it.
He's, identical to Betsy DeVos and what they want to do to education. They want to get rid of every public school in the country.
So he'll probably get a cabinet spot for his efforts and his dropping out and immediately endorsing Trump and him never really hating on Trump at all.
That's what I was going to say. He never turned his back on Trump. He was always trying to do this. And this is exactly what he wanted.
Well, now that Iowa is complete, our next state to watch is New Hampshire, whose GOP primary is happening on January 23rd, a day before this episode releases for everybody else.
Oh, my God.
The Democratic primary for New Hampshire isn't happening for a while, so this is a little confusing. So listen up.
Okay.
They're still doing a primary on Tuesday. But that does not hold any delegates for the Democratic Party because the party changed the schedule. New Hampshire's mad that they changed the schedule, so they said, we're still going to hold our primary.
Why?
But the party doesn't recognize this vote as the actual vote that assigns delegates.
Why do they care?
I think New Hampshire actually has it written into their law that they have to be the first primary state. And it's like your law doesn't supersede anything else.
I'm saying your law also doesn't really dictate the law of a private entity because, again, these are private.
Yeah.
Like the DNC is a private institution. These primary elections are all run private. They're not run by any state or federal government. So what are you thinking? Like, no, you guys, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
And I think in retaliation, the New Hampshire Democrats kicked Biden off the ballot.
For this one?
Like in protest, yeah.
I thought Biden wasn't on the New Hampshire ballot because they just didn't file in time.
Or maybe they didn't file, they just didn't recognize it. Something happened where Biden's not on the ballot.
Maybe in this one, like the fake one that they're doing in protest,
Yeah.
they're like, no, you cannot come play with us.
Yeah.
But in the real one, you missed the deadline.
Yeah, so we're going to see a Marianne Williamson sweep or something in New Hampshire.
Oh, then we're going to see the most awful people come out in the fucking comments.
Look, she has a chance.
Guys, they won the primary. Snowball.
No,
Oh,
that's-
my God.
that's
Williamson
exactly-
train, 2023.
That's exactly why I'm saying this right now, because Biden isn't on the ballot. I think some people are trying to do like a write-in for him. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't assign delegates. Biden's not on the ballot in November, or not in November, in New Hampshire, sorry.
in November. That's crazy.
He's not going to win the New Hampshire primary that's going to happen in just a few days. People are going to be like, oh my God, look, Biden lost. All of you liberals said we couldn't do it.
Like fucking Biden wasn't in it, and Sank Uger won 13% of the vote. No.
It's not going to happen. So just keep in mind that this is not real. It doesn't matter for it. Doesn't even have delegates, so it doesn't apply. But speaking of New Hampshire, with our GOP candidates, Nikki Haley is banking quite a lot on New Hampshire. Polling puts her, and this is before Ron DeSantis dropped out, so just keep in mind.
Yeah.
Before Ron DeSantis dropped out, polling put her at about 30 to 35% to Trump's 50%.
And I mean, she absorbs all those extra votes.
Yeah, the DeSantis votes? You think so?
Oh, wait. No, she actually, she does not absorb the DeSantis votes.
I think a lot of those DeSantis votes just go to Trump.
She's staying firmly at 30 to 35%, and Trump is jumping up to 65.
Yeah, you don't think we see a Nikki surge? A surgy Haley?
Yeah, you know, maybe we see a surge. If we dare see a surgy Haley in New Hampshire, it's not following up anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but like that's kind of like the overarching theme of, like, you know, maybe we're not a geopolitics or election politics podcast anymore. Maybe because the news is boring now, we're a Detroit Lions and Jujutsu Kaisen podcast.
Yeah, you guys read those leaks?
249 is kind of crazy. Anyway, I'm excited for 249 or 250. But anyway, it's like the whole time the Iowa caucus is happening, the results are coming in. I was just kind of left like, oh, Trump won.
Yeah.
What? New Hampshire's gonna happen. Trump's gonna win.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Lions, they just won.
They actually just looked that up a second ago.
Yeah, Lions just beat the Bucks.
Because we're in Detroit Lions, but
Florida 0-2 today, baby. Fuck them. Ron DeDropout. Fuck you,
Ron
dog.
DeDropout. Tampa Bluesers.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots, dog.
The Bucks following in line with their governor, taking a fucking L, bro. I'm sleeping with the door unlocked.
2 massive L's for Florida tonight. It's ridiculous. 2 massive L's for Florida in 2024.
I'm gonna drive back to Detroit tonight, sleeping with the door open.
You know, the general election, that's the Super Bowl for people like us. That's the Super Bowl for people like us, and Florida's not making it to either.
I'm just saying, Dan Campbell's got the blessing of God.
Absolutely,
Anyway.
brother. But that's, so if anybody's got playoff
politics.
tickets for and a plane ticket for me to fly to San Francisco next week, I'll trade a appearance on the pod.
Oh yeah, there you go. You can come fill in for Gage.
That's right.
Anyway, talking about Nikki Haley, she's sitting at about 30 to 35%. I don't know. I mean, do you think if she wins this, is she like justified in staying in the race and seeing it out through Nevada, South Carolina in February? Like, I don't even know.
Like, honestly, I don't think any of them are justified in staying
Well, of
in
course
the race.
not. But from her perspective, from the Sergey
I don't
Haley
know.
perspective.
If I'm Nikki Haley and I don't know, I enjoy this somehow, I think like, all right, I could get some free travel.
Yeah.
I could get some donors to pay for me to, I don't know, fucking fly around and go visit places, I guess.
Yeah.
Because she's not winning.
What else you doing?
And that's why it's like these primaries are so much more unexciting exciting than I thought they would be. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, Trump won.
Yeah.
Trump landslide victory. Trump won. Not even a plurality, just a majority, a firm majority.
Yeah. I don't know what happens because if she does fine in this election, in this New Hampshire election, Nevada's not till I think February 3rd or something like that.
So, okay.
And then South Carolina's at the end of February for the GOP, or maybe the other way around. But the next election is not till February. That's 2 weeks or so, I think, until, she gets another chance at winning anything. It's like, do you want to stay in the election that long when we all know it's a waste of time and that you're not going to win because no other state in this country is going to vote in the Republican primary like New Hampshire will?
I don't know. Maybe she does like a Nevada town hall on CNN to try to boost herself. But I don't even know what she would be boosting herself for.
Yeah.
None of these people are going to be running in 2028, and if they are, they're just going to get cooked by whoever didn't betray Trump.
Yeah. I mean, I think Nikki Haley has set herself up decently. Like, she is clearly in the moderate lane. Other people have said this, but now she's in a position to where if Trump wins the primary and then loses to Biden, she could say, "Told you so. I told you Trump was going to lose."
That's already what she's doing.
Yeah, exactly.
She's already pulling up polling numbers that have her beating Biden like 53 to 48 or something.
Yeah. So she's not in a bad position there, but like short term, she's not going to win. I think it's only a matter of time before she drops out. She probably won't endorse. Maybe she fucking will endorse Trump. I don't know.
And it's like, I don't know what she gains other than maybe being the UN ambassador again. Which I mean, frankly, I don't know how that job can get much more evil. Right now.
And I don't even think she gets chosen for VP.
No, absolutely not.
Not just because I'm standing behind my Kari Lake prediction.
Yeah.
But because, like, I think she, even though she hasn't attacked Trump that much, I think she's burned the bridge enough, and Trump is petty enough to where he's not going to assign her to vice president.
Because I feel like all of the wins that he might gain with Nikki Haley being his VP against suburban white women, a huge demographic that he needs to win to be able to win the general, he just kind of gets with Kari Lake.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't get them as well because Kari Lake hasn't made herself kind of a moderate colloquially on abortion while still being very pro-life. Maybe, I don't know. But still.
I mean, Nikki Haley's got some benefits if he chose her for vice president because she's a lot more moderate and he's got to win those moderate votes. But I just can't see him picking any of the dudes from the primary because it's hard to imagine like winning an election without women supporting you. Like you kind of need that, especially with abortion being like one of the main issues.
Yeah.
I think he's got to pick someone like Kari Lake for vice president.
That's what I was about to say too. I don't know how he could reconcile within the party having, or within the diehards in the party, because honestly, abortion is still popular amongst conservatives, popular amongst 70% of the country is pro it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know how he could reconcile having his VP have a very like moderate stance when it's convenient on abortion, him being just hardline pro-life.
Right.
Which is a weird thing to continue to come out as abortion is going to be the #1 national issue.
Yeah. Well, I know for certain it won't be Vivek. It won't be Ron DeSantis.
It's Vivek before it's Haley.
Ron to drop out.
Ron to drop
I don't think it'll be Nikki Haley. I saw somebody speculating about a short list. Some people make up shit all the time around election time, but someone was like, I found leaks for the short list and Nikki Haley was on it. I don't believe that. Like I just, everything Trump has said about Nikki Haley, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be Mike Pence again.
You know, maybe we'll start whoring for engagement, and we'll just go on TikTok Live and post our short list, and it's just like, oh yeah, who's gonna be VP? Nikki Haley. You know, like those anime lives that are like worst anime of all time: Jujutsu Kaisen, Demon Slayer, Dragon Ball, Naruto. We'll start doing that.
Just farming content.
Exactly. If views drop in 2024, hey. You know what's coming.
Well, we got a couple more elections to watch out for. Look out on two. Maybe they won't announce the results like 30 minutes after the polls open. Because that was crazy. Like right after the polls opened in Iowa, they dropped the results like while people are still there.
Come on, because
funny.
Come on. You know?
Yeah, I think the AP got a lot of flack for doing this, but I actually, maybe this is a hot take, I actually don't think they're that in the wrong because they did it based off entry polls.
Yeah.
They just asked people as they're walking in, who are you going to vote for? Who do you plan to caucus for? And if they said Donald Trump, they wrote it down, and Nikki Haley and so on. And so the AP proved, and they were correct, that Trump mathematically couldn't lose.
Yeah, it's exactly like how Fox News caught a lot of flack during the 2020 election for calling Arizona for Biden like fucking 6 hours before anyone else did.
And then it went for Biden. And the thing is, like, when the AP or Fox News or whoever says that this is who's going to win. It's a projection. They're not saying like the delegates have been assigned or the electoral votes have been assigned. It's their projection based off the math that they've got, and they weren't incorrect.
Yeah.
Like they're not saying this is who won. They're saying the AP calls the race for Donald Trump, and then the votes will be tallied, and for the case of a primary, it'll be handled by the party itself. But I mean, you can't get mad at them if they're right.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
that's why that Fox News moment, one of my favorite moments in politics. Since I've been following politics, that's top 5. Absolutely. Oh my God, it was so good.
Yeah, when Trump calls the Fox News, they're like, you got to take that back.
And then they brought out the, I don't know, statistician
Yeah.
from the back room to do a little presentation. I know, guys, like Maricopa County's gone this far. Like 98% of the vote is in here. Like this is how it's gonna go, and they still look dumbfounded.
Man, I can't wait for that this year.
Brian Kilmeade had a tough job. 24-hour stream on election night. Oh my goodness.
That shit's gonna be crazy.
I also got to know, I love how, obviously we pushed the pod back today. That's why we were able to learn that Ron DeSantis dropped out. Would have been devastating.
Oh yeah, that news would have happened mid-podcast.
I do got to say, instead of just getting rid of the Ron DeSantis commentary in the show notes, it's just stricken from the record. It's just crossed out.
Oh, that's what I did earlier.
That's so funny.
I just did the strikeout because we've got notes in here like DeSantis is closed out of New Hampshire. What is he gonna do? Maybe like what happens if DeSantis gets 15%? Like it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
He's good. He's out of here.
Gotta appreciate that. Do you ever think I want to buy my way into heaven?
Always.
I want to buy my way into the good graces of the people that I'm listening to in my ears right now.
That's right.
You can do that if you head over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. And not only will you be supporting the show, not only will you get early access to all of the content that we produce, but you'll also get an ad-free experience on the Patreon every Sunday, every time we release an episode.
You'll be able to pull up to the sermon on Sunday, on the Lord's Day, to hear the gospel as it's spoken.
Yeah, no more being late, no more interruptions mid-episode if you're listening to this ad right now.
Exactly.
It's on patreon.com/headintheofficepod. It's one of the best ways to support the show. It's one of the longest enduring ways to support the show.
Help buy a pass from all the sins you've committed. Start coming to church.
Yeah.
And we can get things going.
Yeah, that's only if you head over to patreon.com/headintheofficepod. It's in the description. It's there for you. I think it's time to move on to some geopolitics.
As always, you know what I'm saying? We're number one podcast. Got to keep up with it.
So last week we covered Israel-Gaza in relation to the Houthis in Yemen pretty extensively. I think a lot of that analysis still holds up in the face of bombardments continuing on Houthi military targets in Yemen. But there is one massive caveat we got to talk about.
All right, word.
And that caveat was opened up, I guess I would say, by our very own president, Joe Biden.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it when this guy makes our job harder.
Oh, yeah. So, according to The Guardian, the U.S. continues to carry out airstrikes and military targets, airstrikes on military targets in Yemen. The 5th strike just happened this past week. They may have done more since I wrote that. That was a couple of days ago. Here's the caveat, though. Biden was asked by some reporter about the attacks on the Houthis and if they're working, and this was the quote from Joe Biden. He said, quote, "When you say working, are they stopping the Houthis? No. Are they going to continue? Yes." That was from Biden himself.
Why the fuck would you say that?
Yeah. Well, it's not like just why would you say that? If the attacks aren't working,
stop.
Why would we do them?
Yeah, then why don't we stop then? What do you
all of our commentary last week rested on this idea that like it would be an effective deterrent strategy. We're talking about maritime trade, we're talking about the justifications and the pretext behind what the Houthis are doing. But if like empirically the attacks straight up aren't working, there's no reason to continue doing them. That's the logic behind like all military action. Is if it doesn't work, there's no point in doing it.
I think there's still a bit of the argument that holds weight that like, okay, they are launching attacks at civilian vessels traveling through the Red Sea. By their own admission, they are not just attacking vessels heading to Israel and with American interests. They are just attacking any vessel that they want to that goes by. I still think based on that, there is merit in strikes, but it's really hard to say there's merit in strikes when the guy that's doing them is saying, oh, no, they're not.
They're meritless, actually.
They're meritless. They're just for fun. Like, what do you...
Why would you... Oh, my God.
And, like, if they really are not working, if this isn't just a Biden flip, stop the strikes, then pretty staunchly, I'm anti-strike then.
Yeah.
Golly, man.
It's like, we talked about how the piracy is unjust, and I still think what the Houthis are doing is unjustified, of course.
Yes.
Like, that bit of the analysis doesn't change. changed. I still think the piracy can't be allowed under like any system, any economic system or government system. But if the U.S. is launching these airstrikes against the Houthis and providing them with the sort of symbolic legitimacy as they've suggested, because they're saying like, look, we're fighting back against the U.S. empire, and the strikes aren't working, then why do we continue to give them legitimacy? Why do we continue to rile up support for them against us? Like, what's the point? There's no payoff here at all.
Why do we allow them to be galvanized by this?
Man. And the frustrating thing to me is like leftists, obviously, the leftists that disagree with us on this, like latched onto this, which is like, can't even blame them. Joe Biden's the one saying it. You know what I mean? And they've just been kind of swallowing the Houthi propaganda whole.
But it's just they.
And at the same time, liberals are supporting military strikes that only galvanize support for the Houthis, don't actually do anything to stop them from attacking vessels. I feel like I'm just going fucking crazy here.
You know,
like what's going on?
Feels like we're the only good faith actors around. It's like, okay, you know what? If the strikes are going to work, if they're attacking civilians, that's going to be something I say you can't do. You know, no matter who, I don't think you can attack civilians, and non-controversial. Sure, carry out strikes that get rid of the infrastructure that they are using to attack civilians and disrupt maritime trade that not only affects us, but affects people in poorer countries way more. Way more sensitive to supply shocks. Even 10-day lapses in trade can affect them and have devastating effects.
I think Egypt was hurt the most out of all of this. I think that was the calculation.
Nice.
Which is like Egypt is not.
Exactly.
Like what are they doing?
No matter what way you square it, I think the Houthis are, again, opportunists. I don't think they're like there's no merit in we're doing this to stop Israel.
Well, and even if they weren't just opportunists, like can anybody use the pretext of something bad happening to attack innocent people?
To do bad things?
Like we can't allow that to happen either. You know what I mean? Even if they're serious about wanting to support Israel.
God damn, when you have the president of the United States get up saying, "No, we're just doing it for fun." Got to spend that budget. Use it or lose it.
It's like you're trying to lose the election, dog.
No, because he is. I swear to God, he's trying to lose the election. Every week there's a new thing that comes out pertaining to specifically Israel, Gaza, where he just does a thing like, oh, unconditional aid. We're just fucking bombing Yemen. He takes the Hassan framing and he doesn't say, you know, we're striking military targets. We're bombing Yemen. Oh my God, brother. He's not making it easy.
No, and that's like, trust me, I wish I could get on here and be all philosophical about how radical I am and talk about Marxism and, you know, Medicare for all and all of this stuff. I wish we could do that, but there just isn't the time when Biden is saying dumb shit like this, when leftists are falling for Houthi propaganda, and then we have to explain all of it and give you like the materialist answer that just ends up with us like not even being able to make any radical critique.
That just ends up with there being no fucking solution.
Yeah.
Because it's either, okay, you let them continue to attack civilian ships, maybe fucking kill somebody that didn't have anything to do with any of this. Just some fucking worker who was on a ship, or you strike them. For nothing. I get, like, it's such a sad state right now.
And then if you do strike him, the president's gonna be like, yes, it's not working, but we're gonna keep doing it.
And he gets out and says this in the face of, I think, the worst approval ratings in the history of the presidency. Oh my, absolutely tanking, especially within our demographic, 18 to 35?
Oh yeah.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah,
bottom of the barrel approval rating, worse than Trump in some instances.
Yeah, it feels like he's not trying very hard to win.
He's not trying very hard to win, and the handlers around him must not be trying very hard either. And fucking, at least some people in the Senate are starting to turn around. I think there was 60 senators that just came out and said we need to start conditioning aid. Which is
Wait, seriously?
Something I was reading something earlier. There were 60, not senators. That would be
House people. Okay, yeah, House people.
60 Democrats that are starting to kind of like turn on Biden a little bit, and I think they petitioned Blinken to start saying, no, it wasn't about conditioning aid. It was about whether or not Israel should be able to kick out literally every single Palestinian from Gaza.
The bare minimum.
They're like, we gotta say he can't do that, and it's like, yeah. You know what? The fact that only 60 of you are saying that is kind of concerning.
60 Democrats are like, hey, ethnic cleansing is not cool.
Literally cleansing the land of a people should happen, guys. They wrote it, but it's like they wrote a strongly worded letter. They didn't even take it to the media. They want to lose, man. Oh my God.
Yeah. Speaking of Biden doing nothing, Secretary of State Tony Blinken met with Netanyahu and apparently expressed to him, and this is what I read, that there isn't a military solution to Hamas, and reportedly Netanyahu just disagreed and left.
That's
so liberalism, I guess.
That is
not trying very hard at all.
I don't know why we let every single Israeli in a position of power just not answer any of these questions.
Yeah.
Just give complete non-answers. I don't know what program it was, but the one, like an Israeli spokesperson or an IDF spokesperson, like one of the head guys was on this interview show this past week. I saw it on Majority Report, Sam Cedar, and they were he was basically asked, like the interviewer had actually pressed him about what the fuck is going on in Gaza, because how do you not?
Yeah.
You can't have journalistic integrity and not press the guys who are literally doing genocide.
Right.
In 2024. Not even 2024. You know what I mean? And he said, well, you know, Hamas, they did the October 7th attack, so they deserve this. And the interviewer rightly said, what about all the stuff that was going on before October 7th?
Yeah.
And the spokesperson, Israel's spokesperson response was, how dare you try to contextualize this? What do you mean, how dare you contextualize this? To contextualize something is not to excuse something. And that's something that's just true. If it did, then our commentary would be unjust on this issue, because we've spent a lot of time trying to contextualize what happened on October 7th and contextualize Hamas's existence.
How could context ever be bad?
Exactly. Contextualizing something does not mean excusing it.
Yeah.
Contextualizing something can be an excuse depending on the context, but what contextualizing is at its base level is providing an explanation. And when we're talking about thousands of people dying, we ought to be able to explain the conditions that led to this happening in the first place, so we can, I don't know, avoid them in the future.
Yeah, it's like self-evidently true that context is like fine.
Important.
Yeah.
Dare I say.
When we're talking about geopolitical conflicts that could end with the mass displacement, and already has produced the mass displacement of like 2 million people.
85% of Palestinians in Gaza cannot return to their homes.
We've had more than 1% of the population die.
I don't even know if they have any functional hospitals left.
Yeah.
This week, they just finished bombing every single university in Gaza.
That's crazy.
Just gone now because, you know, Hamas is in every bit of important infrastructure. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my God.
God.
In some direct Israel news, though, last week we saw the beginning of the ICJ trial for Israel on charges of genocide. It's about what we expected. South Africa said, hey, this is genocide. Here's why. You guys have basically been saying, let's do a genocide.
Yeah.
And then Israel said, well, Hamas.
October 7th.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
By the way, is not what the charge is about. Hamas isn't on trial. Hamas couldn't be put on trial. They're not a country. And Hamas is not relevant, really.
I'm surprised their defense wasn't, you guys have not offered a condemnation of Hamas.
He probably said that at some point.
Refused to engage with this discussion.
A cool headline I saw was that a retired Israeli Supreme Court judge who isn't involved in this case said that he was watching the case and that South Africa is a Hamas proxy, which I think is fucking sick as hell.
Is it the Israeli Supreme Court that I think right before this whole genocide happened and before the October 7th attacks happened gave like a crazy amount of power to Netanyahu, and they're like big protests about it? I think
so,
or was it Netanyahu that stripped the Supreme Court of powers?
I don't remember, actually.
Man, fuck it. Maybe we're not the number one.
No, fuck.
Yeah,
Don't
I'm
say
just
that.
kidding.
Don't
I'm
say
just
that.
kidding,
Don't say that. Well, before we get off the topic of Israel and Gaza, I wouldn't let you all get away without some propaganda news.
I love propaganda.
Got to talk about propaganda a little bit. So,
propaganda.
The slogan "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free" has been demonized since protests have began against what's happening in Gaza right now. Even beforehand, right? It's always been demonized as this sort of inherently anti-Semitic phrase. Well, Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, just said on I-24 News, quote, "The state of Israel has to control the entire area from the river to the sea."
You know, that's crazy. I wouldn't even be surprised if he just got out there and said, well, it was done to us, so why can't we do it to them?
Yeah, well, that's basically honestly, what this is, right?
That's been what they've been doing this entire conflict.
Yeah.
It's, well, you know, October 7th was done to us, so we can do it to them, but harder.
Yeah, well, obviously now this was translated from Hebrew. Others have said it could have been translated as, quote, "Israel must have security control over the entire territory west of the Jordan River," but this is the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. Like he's just doing from the river to the sea, a statement that's supposed to be inherently anti-Semitic, inherently genocidal, but then he's going to say, "Oh, but we're not doing genocide. We're just protecting ourselves."
Crazy. Just giving South Africa ammo.
It can't be both, can it? like hold on. If we're gonna say this is necessarily anti-Semitic when said in favor of Palestine, is this not just an admission that ethnic cleansing is sort of the end goal here?
Yeah.
Like he's just gonna get on a news channel, give some speech where he says from the river to the sea, but it's fine when he does it.
Well, yeah, of course.
What are we talking about?
You know, it's okay. It's chill because he doesn't like mean it though.
Yeah,
He doesn't mean it. And I think that's like a part of what Israel has argued in the ICJ trials. I think one of the things was like there were groups of IDF soldiers chanting about this. I can't remember what it's specifically called, but it's like this invoking something from the Bible that is basically we're going to go to their land and kill everything from the ox to the sheep to the ass to the whatever.
Yeah.
Something that's very much genocidal. And again, the spokesperson was like, well, yeah, you know, some soldiers were doing that and like that's not our official stance. So they got in trouble.
Bro, your soldiers come on now.
Your soldiers, the one that are on the ground, you know, killing civilians.
The ones that have killed your own people, Israeli hostages.
Real as hell.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, war is still bad. Biden not doing very much, still pretty weak.
Honestly, weaker than ever.
Netanyahu's still a genocidal maniac. And that sums up Israel and Gaza this week.
Have you ever wondered what we're thinking about during the week?
Well, I know what I'm thinking about.
I know what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
I probably know what this guy's thinking about too, but do you? I don't think you do. But if you want access into, I don't know, my mind palace, the inner workings of what's going on, how I come up with the bars I need to develop this show every week, to produce this wonderful podcast we bring to you every week, why don't you head on over to X, formerly known as Twitter.com, and give us a follow, you know?
You can also consider becoming a subscriber on YouTube.
That's right.
You could follow us on Instagram, see what we're shit posting on the stories.
Oh my gosh.
We have a plethora of options available to you if you want to engage with the Hiddo community. So consider following us on social media. It's completely free.
For free.
It's completely free, and it supports the show.
Yeah, Biden just getting on here and just making our jobs just hell.
More than just him. A lot of Democrats.
A lot of Democrats getting on here just, oh my God, man.
Yeah,
oh my God.
It's not good.
It'd be pretty cool if we hijacked that infrastructure, but that's a conversation for another day. Speaking of Israel and Democrats who have really bad takes on Israel.
Yeah.
We need to talk about a favorite guy. Can you guess who I got up on here next?
I mean, I've looked at the notes. I can't
looked at the notes?
do you the
Dear
disservice
viewer,
of
dear viewer.
betraying my own integrity.
Can you guess which Democrat that has switched up like crazy and is very, 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 very pro-Israel we're going to be talking about next year?
Yeah.
I'll give you a hint.
He wore an Israeli flag on his back.
That's right. And I'll give you another hint. We got to put this man back in a suit.
Oh, you know who it is.
So if we're going to have conservative reliefs, we need to dress like a conservative. That's right, folks. We're talking about John FEDterman.
Jonathan.
And to no one's surprise, John FEDterman is continuing his recent conservative streak. This one's not totally about Israel.
Okay.
But it happened on Friday, he spoke with Jake Tapper on his program on CNN, where Jake Tapper started the conversation kind of talking about, the left, like progressives, they're criticizing you a lot for your Israel takes and your border takes.
Yeah. Jake Tapper being a journalist.
That's what I'm saying.
Doing God's work.
And John FEDterman had a couple things to say about it, where he essentially took about the border. He framed the influx of migrants from the southern border as them just blocking the American dream for those who are trying to do things the right way. And if that's not the most conservative way to frame it, you know what?
Wasn't his wife an undocumented immigrant?
Yeah, was she undocumented?
I think so, yeah.
What the fuck about the right way?
I'm pretty sure he posted about that. Anyway, I mean, because it's sort of irrelevant, it's...
yeah, well, he moved on to invoke that, and he moved on to say that while he does support immigration, to the point where he was even attacked by conservatives for his immigration support during his election, he's also a very strong proponent for a secure border.
Since when?
I'm saying.
What do you mean?
I'm saying, man. Since he stopped wearing suits?
God,
Since he wouldn't put a suit on?
Pennsylvania elected a fucking Republican to the Senate.
Dude, I know. It's like... Joe Manchin announced that he was going to fucking and John FEDterman said somebody needs to fill that role. Somebody needs to step up and fill this man's shoes.
Oh my
in the
God.
the fucking Senate Problem Doers Caucus.
Yeah, we need to.
Oh my God.
And he's got 6 years. Oh my God. Well, I guess
four
more years.
2 more.
Yeah. No,
he was elected in 2022. Yeah, because we covered that. That's oh my
man, we were so happy
man.
when he won. I mean, it's better than like an actual Republican.
It's better than Dr. Oz.
Yeah, of course.
Real, but like. It's a betrayal. You know, it hurts closer to home.
Yeah, like I was there fighting for you, dog.
That's what I'm saying. I advocated for this guy, and he's just turning his back on me and his fucking wife, apparently. God damn. But he then continued on to say that Democrats and Republicans need to come together to work out a solution, elaborating then by saying there needs to be a, quote, reset on U.S. border policies. What the fuck could that mean?
I don't know. Maybe he wants to go back to like Ellis Island. You know what I'm talking about?
I guess.
Back in like the 20s or whatever.
God damn, man. And I guess to contextualize this kind of turn, in another instance of FEDterman inappropriately adopting conservative framing last month, where he was where he put the blame on Democrats in a Politico talk, saying, quote, "It's a reasonable conversation and Democrats should engage."
Yeah,
what do you think about that statement, considering everything going on right now?
I think isn't there an immigration bill making its way through Congress or being considered right now?
Yes, sir.
Were you about to get
the
into
Senate.
that? Were you about to? Okay, yeah, okay.
It's really funny because Democrats, to much of our disappointment, continuously are, again, very awful on the border, and they concede everything but the most blatant human rights abuses. They basically concede everything except conservatives saying, we want to fucking put buzzsaws on the border.
Yeah.
We want to put razor wire in the water in Texas, which is a real thing that's going on right now that the DOJ is trying to sue about. But anyway, the assertion that Democrats are refusing to negotiate is absolutely asinine when we consider
Biden wants to.
Biden wants to.
Biden wants to.
Democrats have been talking about coming to the table forever, probably since the midterm election. You know, they've gotten pretty much nothing done legislatively, and they really want this fucking win.
Yeah.
And there is a bill actively moving through the Senate right now, a big bipartisan deal on immigration that's very conservative.
I think some of the progressives in the House have come out based on like outlines they've seen and said like, yeah, we're not going to vote for that if that's what makes it to the table.
Covered it. A couple weeks ago, we covered a story where a MAGA Republican, I can't remember exactly which person in the House, but I think it was a Freedom Caucus guy.
Troy Nels?
Yes,
Troy Nels.
Troy
Nels,
the House Republican, came out and said straight up, the quiet part out loud, again, he and many others in the House will refuse to pass a bipartisan border bill because they don't want the win to happen under Biden, especially during an election year where the border is one of the top issues galvanizing conservatives.
Yeah, no, he's not going to give it up.
They're giving the game away.
And I think Trump was talking to Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, and said like, you can't vote for this bill.
And Mike Johnson said he's not going to bring the bill.
Yeah.
And Lindsay Ellis went on TV, and he's not Lindsay Ellis. That's a video essayist. She makes great videos.
Okay.
Lindsey Graham, South Carolina
wifeless.
Guy. Yeah. Don't want to tag Lindsay Ellis. She's great. You know what I'm saying? But Lindsey Graham, wifeless Lindsey Graham, got on. I don't know if it was Fox News. He got on some program and said, "Guys, we gotta pass this bill." He said that this is the best bill that they are gonna get, even if Trump was in office.
Yeah, I think he's probably right.
And John FEDterman is out here saying the Democrats aren't negotiating. When you got one of Mr. Conservative out here saying, no, this is actually great. Like, we got a lot of the things that we wanted out of the Democrats. Perfect.
Yeah.
Dare I say.
Lindsey Graham, like one of the worst people on the planet.
Worst, most awful people in the country.
Lindsey,
out there saying, yeah, this is great, actually.
Lindsey level Gaza Graham. Out here saying, and that's not just like an editorial from me. He said level the place if you have to.
And now we have, I don't know, the House Freedom Caucus. I don't know what they're on, man.
Yeah.
But every semblance of political strategies went out the window when Matt Gaetz said we're getting Kevin out of here.
I don't know if that's like bad political strategy because, you know, Troy Nels is being sort of cynical. Mike Johnson and Trump are being cynical.
That is good strategy. You're right.
I think that they are correct to say that it would be a victory for the Democrats if there was a bipartisan deal on the border that was at least semi-conservative because it would take at least a little bit of the talking point away that Democrats have done nothing on the border.
Yeah.
So if they hold it up, despite the bill being good for their own ideals and what they say is a real problem for this country, even though we don't agree, if they hold that up, then it takes a win away from Democrats, even though it's a conservative deal.
Yes, political strategy probably isn't the term I was looking for. I was more looking for like cohesion because the Conservative Party has been very cohesive throughout its entire life.
It's really what it's defined on, kind of.
Its biggest strength is the fact that all of their members pretty much vote the same. They line up together to get shit done when they need to get shit done. They fall in line to block any bills. It's the Mitch McConnell strategy. They've been obstructionists since Obama was in office, right? They just refuse to pass bills under Democrats. And they've been really good at it. And now it's kind of like they're falling apart.
Well,
House Republicans just can't.
It seems like they're still going to end up blocking this bill. And I think what's more, I think this bill is tied to the government shutdown, isn't it?
Oh, no. I don't know. I know it's tied to Ukraine and Israel funding.
Well, I fuck with that. If they're at least for the Israel funding. Again, Mike Johnson, hero of Gaza. Accidental hero of Gaza.
Mike Johnson doing more than Joe Biden to stand in the way of genocide.
We almost named an episode Mike Johnson, the hero of Gaza a while ago.
Be too much, though.
But yeah, it was like in November. We thought that would be a bit much. But yeah, inadvertently, Mike Johnson might save Palestinians by not allowing any kind of deal to pass.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like, and it's like our system, at least with Republicans in it, incentivizes obstructionism because just obstructing things in Congress generally, because if while you have a Democrat in office, something good happens, it looks good for the president.
Yeah.
It reflects well on the president. And if your goal in an election year is to beat him, then you want to give him as few victories as possible, even if he's going to give you basically everything you want on a border deal.
Especially when it comes to the border, because something that blew my mind that I forgot to talk about, we were talking about the Iowa caucus, is I saw a graphic. I don't know what program it was on, but it said these are the top issues for Iowa borders. You know, let me remind you where Iowa is.
North.
Where Iowa is situated in the country. It's like the Midwest.
Oh, yeah, it is the Midwest.
It is closer to Canada than it is to Mexico. You know what the top issue was for Iowa voters? It was like 38%.
Better not be immigration.
It's immigration. Brother.
Iowa's like 97% white.
Y'all have corn. Like, the top issue for you should be, I don't know, farm subsidies. What are we talking about here? How did we get here?
Yeah, I think I might have seen that graph. It was probably on Fox News. It was probably on Fox News. But like, yeah, if you're an Iowa voter talking about your top issue is immigration, you shouldn't be allowed to vote.
I'm sorry, but even the people is there a large Mexican diaspora in Iowa?
No, there isn't.
Some white people are really unhappy about? Because in my mind, they're not making it that far. Like, you're not a border state.
Yeah, Iowa's damn near homogenous. The 3% that isn't white, I guess they're really mad about in that state. And I gotta believe it's not like undocumented immigrants that make up the last 3% of the Iowa population. You know what I mean? Like, what? That's crazy.
Fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Absolutely fucking nuts. Like, conservatives are insane when it comes to the border. And it's... Why is John FEDterman adopting this framing?
Yeah.
Why is John FEDterman saying everything that they are? Especially when they paint him and his colleagues as if they're open border fucking lunatics that are pro open border and are actively complicit in replacement of the white population.
Yeah, great replacement.
Come on now.
I mean, I can't explain it. A lot of people have just been like straight up ableist, like the stroke or whatever made him conservative. Republicans and people on the left have been saying that. I don't know that that's like possible. I don't think that can. I mean, maybe personality changes can happen. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I can't explain this though. Like, I don't know what the shift came from. I don't know if he always believed this kind of stuff and now it's just getting highlighted because there's a major conflict in Israel. But Jesus Christ, it's bad. Like, it's real bad.
The Israel stuff, there were, like, maybe it's hindsight bias, but there were signs before. I've seen videos talking about how, like, he was very silent on the issue when he was running because, like, to be fair though, it wasn't a big issue.
Leftists are silent on the issue when they're running. Right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And it also wasn't a big issue at the time. Yeah. Like, it was only an issue for people who follow politics like us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he was getting money from AIPAC. He was getting money, and that was instrumental in helping him.
Almost everybody does, though.
Exactly. It was instrumental in helping him beat Oz.
Yeah.
So, like, he had a reason why it's like, okay, maybe I should stay silent on this issue to get in a seat that was a key seat that we absolutely needed to win.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so maybe the switch up isn't crazy. I'd argue it's more the extent to which he switched up,
yeah,
which is wild. But the border stuff, like, dog, what are we fucking doing?
Well, and it's especially crazy to me because, sure, you had to jump through some hoops to get the AIPAC money, and nobody wants to be decried as an anti-Semite because that does still hold cultural power, of course. Yeah. You know, it should, but saying that you support Gaza shouldn't be considered anti-Semitic.
No,
but you don't have to do what he's doing to get the AIPAC money. All you got to do is vote for, like, support for Israel, and you'll get the AIPAC money like just fine.
Israel's strongest warrior.
Yeah, but he's going insanely far. Like, you don't have to do all this to get the special interest money. So I don't know what explains, the extent to which he has just completely switched up on progressive values.
It's also like, if we're going to talk about the border, and if we're going to make fun of Iowa for saying the border is the #1 issue for primary voters, is Pennsylvania a border state? What the fuck? You know, maybe if you're Beto O'Rourke in 2018 and you were able to and you're in that tight race with Ted Cruz and you come out and say some things that are maybe a little anti-immigration, maybe I can understand.
Oh, yeah, Texas.
I'm like, okay, this is Texas. It's kind of like
still racist, but it's kind of
one of the worst places. You know what I mean? Maybe you can get away with it. But bro's in the north.
Yeah, as a Democrat.
What do we do? What the fuck are we
absolutely
doing
no excuse. It's like Kirsten Sinema in Arizona.
Yeah.
Like voting down $15 an hour.
Like we're just drinking the Kool-Aid here.
Yeah.
Just uncritically just parroting every conservative narrative that they pushed, using conservative rhetoric when you don't even have to. There are plenty of liberals that are anti-immigration that at least, I don't know, say it a little bit nicer. He doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with John FEDterman. I mean, you could put on your tinfoil hat and maybe theorize that the DNC tapped his shoulder and is like, we need someone to heel turn. You know what I mean? Like, programming's getting a little dry.
We're going to put you in a fucking suit.
They said the president's taking some heat. We need you to be a little bit crazier than him and get these progressives off his back.
And they said, John, we need to get the progressives off Joe Biden's back. And, we're going to put you in a suit.
We made an appointment at the Taylor's. Fucking get in there. You're gonna get
we have a very nice, well-fitted suit coming to your office if you don't fucking go crazy on these issues.
Yeah, we'll let you wear the hoodie. You got to put on the cape too, though.
We'll let you keep wearing the hoodie.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. John FEDterman switched up. Fuck that guy.
I'm saying, and it's also, again, you got to comment on it. He had to comment on the pushback he's been getting for his insane Israel views by saying he just doesn't understand how it's controversial for anyone to decide that they want to stand with Israel. Brother.
I feel like that's a pretty unnuanced position. It's not stand with Israel. It's support ethnic cleansing in apartheid conditions that have been going on for decades now.
God damn, man. It's just crazy. And what pains me the most about FEDterman being this ridiculous is he is right on one issue, and that's Bob Menendez. Mm-hmm. He is right in coming after Bob Menendez and speaking out when I don't know why other Democrats aren't speaking out about his corruption indictments. Because come on, I know they're just indictments and you got to let the system work itself out. But gold bars with his name on them.
Yeah, come on. It's a great chance to position yourself.
Exactly. This is a great chance to position yourself as anti-corruption, especially, during an election year when conservatives are coming at you, calling you this corrupt party, the Nancy Pelosi insider trading discourse, which that's really true.
And Bob Menendez, isn't a progressive.
Exactly.
He's damn near a centrist, almost basically conservative at this point.
He's almost John FEDterman.
Yeah. I mean, he's taken money from the Egyptian government, I think, or Egyptian business people.
There was something that came out a couple days ago, I think, that Qatar is fucking
a sick.
Qatar is somewhere to do with this corruption scheme, and it's oh, buddy.
Yeah,
what are we doing here?
John FEDterman out here why can't I say I stand with the Congo? I don't get it. Why can't I stand with the Congo?
Guys.
Why can't I stand behind Pol Pot? He's a good guy. I just don't understand why the left is so mad.
Fuck, dude, it's the FEDterman issue. In conclusion,
FEDterman.
Put him in a fucking suit. Oh my God, if he's gonna act like this, he better dress like it too.
You better look nice to earn it.
I'm saying.
Last news story I have for today is a little bit of beyond parody.
Sweet sound.
We talked about racism from Vivek. We talked about racism and immigration policy. Now we're going to talk about more racism.
Oh, who'd have guessed?
Well, we're not getting off of racism this episode.
You know who wouldn't have guessed? Nikki Haley.
Well, exactly.
We've never been a racist country.
In Oklahoma, a Republican state representative, J.J. Humphrey, introduced HB 3133, a bill that ostensibly defines gang-related crimes as terrorism. Now, that's already problematic in and of itself.
Yeah.
Because terrorism and gang crime is not the same thing.
Terrorism is explicitly violence with a political motive behind it.
Yeah, usually
gang
to
crime.
Civilians, right?
Yeah, completely separate
and
sociological phenomenon.
There's reasons we have designations for these things. There's reasons they're not the same word.
Well, yeah, words have meaning.
So yeah, obviously this is already problematic in and of itself, but that's not the kicker. The kicker here is that this new terrorism designation applies only to Hispanic people in the state of Oklahoma.
Man,
this is not an exaggeration at all. We can we can just go through the bill.
Okay, all right.
To be considered a terrorist under this bill, you must qualify in these three categories. 1, be a member of a criminal street gang as defined by their legal code, be convicted of a gang-related offense in Oklahoma, and be, quote, of Hispanic descent living within the state of Oklahoma.
Wait a minute. So say I'm in a white street gang, and I'm a member of said white street gang, and I'm convicted of a gang-related offense.
Under this bill, you're not a terrorist.
I'm not a terrorist?
You're not a terrorist.
Holy shit,
But if you're
man.
Hispanic, you're a terrorist. This is racism.
What the fuck?
This is straight up trying to do institutional racism.
That shouldn't be allowed. How the fuck did we get here? Is there even that many Hispanic people in Oklahoma? A theme of this episode. I feel like it's a non-issue. I feel like we are just signaling to the worst people in our states that, like, hey, what is this? So that Nikki Haley or Trump can go on Fox News and say, look, there are literally terrorists coming from the southern border.
That's exactly what it is. And it's like, there's no reason to say just Hispanic people. There's no reason to have Hispanic descent in the bill other to say, look, there's Hispanic terrorists in the state of Oklahoma.
Terrorists are flooding Oklahoma right now. That's fucking...
Not even to mention, of course...
Look at how many terrorists went up in the year 2024 with Biden's open border policies. Come on.
Yeah, it's just changing legal definitions so you can deem people as something more serious than they really are. And to be clear, as I said, this is just systemic racism. Yeah. Trying to make it worse.
Literally. Yeah. The law.
Now, the punishment for being a terrorist, as this bill defines, is, of course, criminal proceedings, as you would get for gang-related activities generally, but also the forfeiture of basically all property that you own. It would be real estate, cars that you own, currency, any property that's yours. You forfeit it by being Hispanic and convicted of gang-related activity. You'd be a terrorist under this bill. Yeah, that's in this bill, which is pretty sick. J.J. Humphreys was called out for this bill for being explicitly racist, because that's what it is. And he offered an apology. You want to hear it?
Yeah, I do.
He said, quote, "I apologize for using the word Hispanic, but I was not wrong. Again, these are Hispanic. Reality is they are Hispanic. There's nothing to be ashamed with." That was his apology.
Brother,
And then he said, this is from The Guardian, he said, quote, The Guardian said, quote, "Humphrey said he will go back to the bill and amend the language from Hispanic to undocumented here illegally," or something like that.
Or something like that. All right, nice.
Which, like, first of all...
Hispanic to of Latin American descent.
Yeah, like, being undocumented and being Hispanic is not the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? But even then, like, being undocumented and being charged with a gang-related crime isn't terrorism.
Yeah, so if 21 Savage got hit with the RICO in Oklahoma, would he then be a terrorist?
Right. Yeah. No, it's just, it's like you said, so they can say, look at all this terrorism that's happening. Oklahoma's reported all of this terrorism.
That's funny. Instances of terrorism in Oklahoma
from immigrants.
From the Hispanic population, from the southern border. That's so fucking... I'm surprised Texas didn't do it first.
Yeah, well...
I'm surprised Texas hasn't designated, like, anyone who crosses the border a terrorist, honestly. Considering that, again, at least the last two GOP debates, I don't really remember, there was way too many of them.
Yep.
It was, I think, the second or third GOP debate, they explicitly tried to start this narrative that literal terrorists are coming from the southern border by saying, look, we found 8 people who are from Iran.
Yeah.
We found
military-aged men.
Yeah, we found 15 people who are from, like, I don't fucking know, the Middle East.
Yeah.
Literally, they put up a graphic that said that, and they said, look, terrorists are coming over. As if every Iranian is a terrorist. Again, as if any Arabic person is a terrorist. And then now, as if any brown person is a terrorist.
As if Trump's own DOJ didn't say that the greatest threat to American security domestically is white extremist terrorism.
Oh, my God.
Like, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Trump's own DOJ said this in 2020.
So fucking insane.
But no, we have this bill out of Oklahoma saying if you are Hispanic and convicted of these gang crimes, then you're a terrorist. But it's crazy. It just says, like, if you are of Hispanic descent. That's crazy.
That's so fucking absurd.
Just straight up racist.
That is so fucking absurd. Like, they could have got away with it if they just didn't put that in there. This would not have made national news. This would not be covered on Hito, because I wouldn't have even know about it if they just said, okay, gang members are now terrorists.
Yeah. Which we would have disagreed with still.
On principle, that's a different word.
Yeah.
That means a different thing. It carries a different connotation than just criminal. And
it should carry different punishments as well.
Yeah.
Right? Like, obviously, we're not going to come out here and make a defense of gang crimes, but it's not the same thing as terrorism.
No, exactly. And it has its own set of sociological reasoning why gang-related crime happens, why people join street gangs, and why people do crime with them. Like, there's a thing that goes on with that. That and terrorism, completely separate issues.
But I think you hit the nail on the head. They want to say, look at all these Hispanic terrorists. Like, that's the goal, right? Like, that's what you want to collect data for. That's what you want to charge people for.
That's so fucking insane. Yeah. And then the Heritage Foundation can be like, look, guys.
Yeah.
Look, guys.
Before we move off this story, shout out to our Discord. Somebody in our Discord boosted this story so that I saw it the other day. I can't remember exactly who it was. Might have been tailored for content, but I could be wrong.
Maybe Sir Cap a lot.
Yeah. Somebody in the Discord boosted it. So if you want to get in on all things Hito,
join the Discord so you can see.
Join the Discord, because I wouldn't have seen the story otherwise, but it's pretty nuts. Before we go, next week we have some things to look forward to. as you alluded to, the immigration bill is going through Congress. Maybe we'll cover that a bit more next week and talk about details.
I'm throwing out dickies.
Yeah, we're throwing out dickies.
It's going to get stalled.
For 100%. We got election results for New Hampshire, of course. Maybe more dropouts.
Wait, hold on a second. Back to the immigration bill and it being tied to funding for the government shutdown. Doesn't that come up February?
I don't even remember at this point.
I think one of the bills only funded the government through like early February, I think.
Oh, did we pass the 2-track plan or something like that?
Yeah, it was like a 2-track stopgap bill.
Oh shit, that means stuff's gonna stop functioning like now.
Yeah,
like stuff was in January. Other stuff
January 22nd, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe it's early and late February. Maybe they passed another bill behind the scenes. I don't know. There's been bigger issues to talk about.
Yeah,
but
certainly.
Maybe that's something to dive into next week.
Yeah, I completely lost track of the government shutdown story because they kept kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Gaza happened and we have Yemen and all these other things going on. But yeah, that's coming up soon. We'll probably cover that a bit more extensively next week since that'll be a bit more imminent. And next week we'll have New Hampshire results.
That's true.
Keep an eye out for that.
And maybe next week more insane shit will happen.
Probably.
I
mean, politics, the content makes itself.
That's what I'm saying.
Speaking of, I won't even say no transition to this.
Okay.
Beautiful people I love and respect.
Beautiful people
this list.
that are beautiful.
Yeah.
Inside and out.
In every possible way.
All very important. Special thanks to the lovely, the wonderful, the amazing Caden Kraut, Lord Tal the Radiant, Chris the Postman, Christy Beck, 40% Spite, Dylan B, Andrew Harris, Mike Chaplinsky, Mattias T, Omar Zuno, Clayton LaFed, Mark Yeager, Kaz, Caleb Joy, Rich Toro, Tari, Gavin Mayer Maldonado, Hunter W, Fergalaki, Max Vesquez, Jacob Rogers, Colton Mooberry, Fixer Punk, Jim Egbers, Jeff Muzzy, Bagel Burrito, Cincy Alex, Joe Stenstrom, Adrian Sandoval, Chloe Sam 601, Colleen Cutts, Very Yook, Jennifer DeVoe, Big Bird Titty, Crawfishin, Benneth Bennington III, Alexia Benanti, Nietzsche, Big Booty Beatdown, Sam Maloney, Two-Headed Boy, Ben Shapiro's Boyfriend, Jonathan Cassis, Luke O'Shea, Cucker Tarlson, Danielle Jackson, The Word of Microsoft, Jennifer Sines, Aaron and his Gundam Gundams, Darth Father, Aiden Taylor, Corey Chambers, Sewer Snack, Elian, John Glover, Devin Hatchard, Retro Mondo, Meatball Minion, Emma the Dude Slayer, Breezy B, Veronica aka V, Raxoon, Ash Smith, The Grotler, Flower Clown, Beetlebugs, Murder in a Trench Coat, Lonnie Rogers, Slavic and Sapphic, Casey Lynn Kelly, Snake Eyes, In Hope of Giants, AK Gone, Aquanadon, Zach Lantian, Info Russell, Austin Greif,
Marcus Corbett, Caleb Roper, Taylor Rensock, Ishi Teddy, Cammy, Tylen Freeman, Steak Daddy, Tay, Isaac Hodges, Madeline C., Pab the Pab 69, Kayla Lowe, Anna Valinik, Eduardo Diaz, KCC, Say Yes to West, August, Particular Pickman, Sir Capilot, Jeff Sines, Howard the Duck, Brennan is Egg, JR, Drew Batchilder, Froggy Gumdrop, Zen doing their best, Jackie Boy, Shameless, Coherent Babbles, Sasha, MJ is Sharp, Michaela Muncie, The Wallace 3000, Southwest Socialism, Jared Finch, Evil Vegans, Tactical Snowflake, Son of Ander, Vanilla Bryce, Willie Swags, Chris E, Fermented Spider, Kishan Lala, Amanda R, Hanky Panky, Tyler Jushinchin. I hope I said that right. Let me know if I didn't. Damian Blues and my mom, thank you all so much for supporting the show on Patreon.
Oh my God,
I love you more than you could imagine. You're brilliant.
More than you can imagine. And I would love you even more if you sponsored a trip to San Francisco next Sunday with tickets to the Lions 49ers.
Lazy liberal trying to get out of work.
And
trying to get out of work.
And if you wanted to do that, maybe you could host the pod.
Oh my God. We'll see you next week, no matter what.
Access to the show.
We'll see you next week.
Have a great week.